Welcome back to our Year in Preview segment this morning with Katie Lannon and Matt Murphy of the State House News Service. So Governor Baker last month declared himself a lame duck. And it may seem sort of silly to people that don't follow politics closely, but there is definitely, in my experience, a different dynamic between a candidate, a governor, someone in an important position who might run for re-election and someone who has said they won't. Let me start with you here, Matt. Is that a problem for Charlie Baker going forward in terms of getting things done?
Potentially, but I'm going to say that it's not going to change the dynamic all that much, just given the fact that House Speaker Ron Mariano, Senate President Karen Spilka, and the legislature historically and in general guard their turf very fiercely, whether it's a Democrat or Republican, someone running for re-election or a lame duck. They have the votes to override the governor at any point. They don't necessarily have to do anything they don't want to do, whether or not the governor is seeking re-election. So, I think the governor will be able to use his position, try to pressure them, as they're seeking their own re-elections, and maybe his bully pulpit is a bit weakened, but the House and the Senate are going to do what they want to do.
Yeah, great points. But Katie, just last month, after the governor made his announcement, after a year in which the legislative leaders pretty much consistently deferred to the governor, there was some sniping at him from Democrats when the website had its problems back last winter. But all of a sudden, last month, there's Senate President Spilka issuing a statement pretty much demanding that he call for a mask mandate statewide, which he's refusing to do. I just got a whiff of they're a little more forward about telling him what they want and scoring him for not necessarily jumping to it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting dynamic because while the legislature has deferred to the governor on a lot of the COVID management matters, they certainly have not been shy about overriding his vetoes of other legislation. And the legislature has called the Baker administration to appear at oversight hearings, pretty testy hearings at some point over the course of the past year. I think the pandemic response is an interesting one because it kind of depends on how things on the ground are going. And I think the flip side of the coin, too, is not just how are we going to see the legislature respond to the governor, but how are we going to see the lame duck governor himself interact with the legislature? They've always had a fairly cordial working relationship. But now that there's kind of an end date on that working relationship, it'll be interesting to see if the governor changes his approach, if he uses the bully pulpit a little more, if he hits things harder.
Yeah, well, there's always been a little bit of tension with Charlie Baker between Mr. Nice Guy and Mr. Somewhat Less Than Nice Guy. So we'll see how that plays out. All right, let's wrap it up with a storyline to watch in the new year. Katie Lannon, you go first.
All right, well, one thing I am going to be looking for in 2022 is really the things that are going to be repeats from 2021, as much as it's a painful thing to think about at times. We're going to have another round of ARPA funding for the legislature to decide how to spend. And a lot of those policies that were put in place during the pandemic are still in limbo. Remote public meetings and expanded outdoor dining are going to be expiring in April. There's going to be an outstanding question about vote by mail and whether that gets extended. There's a lot unresolved from this past year.
Well, they're out of their minds if they touch outdoor dining, but that's a whole nother story. All right, Matt Murphy, a storyline that's on your radar.
Yeah, I mean, I just think moving into 2022, the governor's popularity over the past 8 years, a lot of it predicated on his ability to sort of straddle that middle ground on social issues, but fiscal conservatism. And his exit from the race leaves that middle lane wide open. And I think it'll be interesting to see whether or not someone steps in, either a Democrat or a Republican, Marty Walsh, Maura Healey, Andrew Lelling, the former U.S. attorney, or is there another businessman that could come out of the blue, a la Mitt Romney, to fill that sort of center lane and give all of those Bakercrats someone to rally around? Or will we see both parties move to the fringes?
And I'll throw in a quick one of my own. Keep your eye on the new U.S. attorney starting, I believe, later this month. Rachel Rollins will be taking over, particularly on issues of police misconduct and political corruption. Now, there's a teaser for you. Matt, Katie, thanks very much. Happy New Year to you. And thanks, everyone, for watching. Now, back over to my colleagues for more WBZ News.